I'd like to call this meeting of the Show Low City Council to order. Show that roll call, all council members are present with the exception of Councilman Judd, who has to be excused tonight. Tonight, I've asked Councilman Adams to lead us in the invocation, followed by myself to lead us in the pledge. If you'd all like to stand up and join us, you may do so.
Our Father in heaven, we humbly come before you this evening. We're so grateful that we can come together as a council and as a community to give thanks to thee, Father. We're grateful for the beautiful area we get to live and we get to enjoy. And we are grateful for the staff that help us keep our community looking nice, Father. We are grateful for the citizens that have helped our community grow and to be there for one another. Father, we pray that thy Spirit will be here this day as we go over the things in this city to help us improve and how we can better help those people in our community. We are so grateful for all of our blessings, and we humbly say these things in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Adams. Appreciate that. Next item on the agenda is call to the public. Any citizen desire to speak on a matter that's within the jurisdiction of the City Council may do so at this time. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person and shall be addressed to the City Council as a whole and not by any individual member. Issues raised may be limited to those with the jurisdiction of the City Council. Pursuant to Arizona Open Meeting Law, the City Council cannot discuss or act on items presented at this time. At the conclusion of call to public, individual City Council members may respond to criticism to those who have spoken, ask staff to review a matter, and ask the matter to be put on a future agenda. First person I have is Brad, Mr. Whitfield. We'll let you go first. Since you had the weird colored paper, we're gonna.
Leave it to me. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm the promoter at Deuce Club's Thunder Raceway, and you guys were an important role of getting the racetrack reopened last year. Well, Hatch Paving and Construction has given us an extension on our lease that we're excited about. We're actually going to open up this weekend, Memorial Weekend, Friday and Saturday. Hopefully we see you guys out there. They've been great to work with. They've helped us redo our parking lot. We've got a lot more capacity out there this year. And, we have a lot more racers. I mean, it was well accepted in the community last year. A lot more racers from the community have built cars and is going to be here. We have a lot more involvement from the community for sponsors and marketing partners. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank you guys, the council, and Mr. Mayor, and the citizens of Show Low and surrounding cities for your support.
Appreciate it. What time's the gates open this weekend?
Gates will open at 5 p.m. both Friday and Saturday, and racing starts at 7.
Cool. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Next person on call to the public, Mr. Babb.
Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and especially the audience. My name is Jack Babb. I'm the president of the Beekeepers of the High Mountains of Arizona. And to my right is John Todd. He's our treasurer. Together with the rest of our group, we go out and we try to promote education for bees, conservation, things along that line. What we're here to talk about this evening is the conservation of bees and how communities can help with this. And we would encourage your staff to move forward in considering bee-friendly vegetation, trees, shrubs, and so forth. I've presented a letter to each of you. It all gives the same information, different ways to help conserve bees. The first one on the list is to plant a garden that is bee-friendly, that helps with the pollinators so that we can enjoy the flowers, the vegetation, the vegetables, fruits, everything that comes with it. Being in a high desert area, our bees are lacking in food, natural foods. If we can augment that, so much the better. The next item down is to support the local beekeepers in the area. We have several beekeepers from Pinetop Lakeside, Vernon, St. John's, Snowflake Taylor, and John here lives in Sholo. So we've got quite a diverse background of people coming out. And if you support the beekeepers, that's always a good thing because John goes out and performs rescues, adds to hives, moves them out, helping keep the public safe. Another part of that is the education aspect. And at the end of June, on the 29th, I believe that's the last Saturday, we have a small mini bee school that we will be holding in Taylor, starting about 9 o'clock in the morning. And it just kind of covers the different aspects of beekeeping and what our group goes through individually and as a group to help conserve the bees. We would encourage anybody to follow us on Facebook. We are getting a website put up with the same name, and we will entertain any questions. On the back of this letter is an excerpt from The Heart of the Tree by Henry Kyler Bruner, and it just kind of explains, even though it deals with trees, what the bees need and how they can benefit and how we can benefit. Are there any questions?
Jack, you said that, what was the date again?
June the 29th, about 9 o'clock in the morning.
Where?
It'll be at Freeman Park on Paper Mill Road in Taylor, across from the fire station.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Appreciate your time.
All right. Next person on call to the public. Mr. Roberts. I thought you were going to start walking sooner.
Why does he sit in the back?
He sits all the way in the back, too.
You noticed I started walking as soon as.
Welcome, sir.
Hi, I'm Doug Roberts. I'm here on behalf of the Cruisin' the Rim Car Show. We're grateful to have Thunder Raceway back up and running. We like that synergy that comes from having all of the motorsports together. We will have our car show, and we appreciate Mayor and the council members' support and the city administration. Especially, we appreciate all that the different departments do. Public Works, Parks and Rec, Community Services, Planning and Zoning, and the Police Department. We appreciate all of the support that we receive. They give us a great amount of support. On June 1st, we will have the actual car show. It will be at Frontier Fields, right over here across the street, just down the street from here, and by the splash pad. And that will start at 9 o'clock and run until 3 p.m. We invite all special interest cars to come and register. We'll have about 200 cars. Mayor Leach will get to judge one of our entries. He'll have a Mayor's Choice Award. Several council members have cars. I hope to see them either in the show or the night before, on Friday night, May the 31st, we will have a Cruise the Deuce that will start at the LDS Church on the corner of Clark and 260, on Clark Road and the 60. And it will leave that parking lot at 5:30 and cruise to Hatch Toyota. We would love to see people out watching the cars go by. We should have about 125 to 150 cars in that group of cars that are cruising the Deuce. And that will be Friday night at 5:30. And there will be a burger burn at Hatch Toyota for those that come over and attend. So we look forward to seeing everybody. We're grateful for the support we've received. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks again to everybody.
All righty, next item on the agenda under special events is presentation of Ready, Set, Go by Navajo County. Mrs. Jenkins.
All like make me walk up here by myself.
No, I thought they were all gonna come up here and support you. What's going on?
Coming.
Come on, chief, you just can't sit back there.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate the opportunity every year to come before you and give a little bit of an update. So 2024, here we are. So what's in store this year? Well, as you can see by one of our usual favorite graphics, it looks pretty good for a change. The southern part of Arizona is in the red in both, May and June. And then typically July, we see that monsoons kick in and the severe threat go away. Now I want to emphasize that severe. There's always a risk of wildfire, so we have to stay vigilant at all times, even in the winter. So when are we going to go into restrictions, you may ask? Well, that's a great and wonderful question. Our White Mountain Fire Coordination Group, I know I'm like,
Past that this year.
we might, you never know. I'm not gonna say yes, I'm not gonna say no. So our fire restrictions group that incorporates agencies across all of the White Mountains, including federal forest, state forest, Fort Apache BIA, our local fire and law enforcement, and both Apache County and Navajo County Emergency Management, as well as the BLM, all come together on a weekly phone call. We discuss the science behind the restrictions that we go into, what may cause that to happen, including things that we've talked about in the past, the energy release components. We've all seen those charts, the 7-day outlook, the 30-day outlooks. The weather plays a big role in our decision making, as well as the opportunities for our visitors to come up. Where more people are, more danger is. And then resources is a big component that we look at too. All that being said, as it stands now, today, May 21st, we are not in restrictions yet. So the next meeting will be next Tuesday and we'll see where we are then. I just want to say a special thank you to all of our partners that do come together and make a special effort to be on that call every week. In addition to that call, we have our PIOs from across the region get together and talk about messaging so that it is a unified message. Everybody works really hard to come up with creative graphics and messages that can be incorporated across the board so that people will hopefully hear our banging fists. So that's just one of the things that I do enjoy is the PIO piece. So what can you do as a citizen or member of this council or anybody? Learn more about Ready, Set, Go. I talk about this quite a lot. So the first component is ready. Having a kit, being on the alert system, knowing your communication plan, having your emergency financial first aid kit all completed and ready. And if you haven't done yours, you have homework now. All of those things that I talk about, that is a 24/7, 365 state of mind, state of being ready for anything. Because it may not be a wildfire. It could be a flood. It could be a tornado, believe it or not. Yes, we get tornadoes in Arizona. There's been a couple. It could be a lot of things. It could be a man-made threat. So we definitely want everybody to be ready. Getting set. So once you've heard something's going on in, no pun intended, well, maybe a little bit, your neck of the woods, your ears are perked up, you're listening to those official vetted sources of information that I emphasize a lot. We love our Facebook pages from the neighborhoods and our best friend, and they've heard this and they've heard that. That's all great and wonderful, but unless it's coming from one of these guys, or me, or one of the official partners, those are the ones you want to listen to. If they're sharing our information, great. But unless it's from an official page, you may want to take that with a grain of salt. And that's all I'll say about that. One thing I do want to say and set, if we put out a message that says, you are now in set mode, And you might be feeling like you're going to be a little bit slower if you have an access or functional need, or large animals that are going to take you more time to load up and move. Feel free to go early. You don't have to wait for a go message. You know your routines better than we do, and you can most certainly be the judge of how you get going. Okay. Last but not least, I definitely want to emphasize this one. Go means go. Take your pets, take the livestock, take the go kit. Hopefully you've already packed your meds, your financial documents, all those things that I've already talked about. You've loaded it up and you are gone. We may or may not get another chance to send another alert. Law enforcement may or may not have a chance to go door to door. It just depends on how fast the danger's coming. If you should choose to stay, this is the hard part. We will have you sign a form. You will not be allowed off of your property for any reason to check on neighbors, go get your prescriptions, groceries, no reason whatsoever. The power may be out. Emergency services may not be available because they're going to be dealing with the emergency. So if you choose to stay, it is incumbent that everyone understand it's not going to be that luxurious to stay at home. If you do choose to follow the evacuation, please make sure you follow the directions. We'll issue them as clearly and timely as possible. We'll have volunteers and law enforcement in abundance trying to direct traffic as fast and quickly out of there. We work with our wildfire service folks from Forest Service, State Forestry, to get as much lead time as possible in the case of any possible evacuation, especially during a wildfire, because we've seen the tragedies happen and we definitely don't want that to happen here. So, here's my favorite, Smokey Bear. He's everybody's favorite. Smokey Bear lives within us all, and believe it or not, Smokey is 80 years old this year. 80. I want to emphasize that a little bit because Smokey might be getting a little tired, y'all. He's 80 years old. He's been pounding the pavement working his message since 1944, that it's up to all of us to take care of our forest and to do the right things. Drown, stir, field, put out your campfire, don't leave it unattended, all those great, wonderful things. So let's help Smokey out a little bit on his 80th birthday this year. So you're never too young or too old to help prevent wildfires. We do ask that everyone that drives a vehicle that is a smoker, please use your ashtray. Don't flick it out the window. Don't drag your chains or anything else. Make sure your vehicle is well maintained. There's these great handy little chain holders that you can put over the hitch. Great stuff. They're cheap. They're like less than $10 on Amazon or anywhere else. Okay, I'm going to try and not get on the soapbox. Put out your campfires. If you're coming up, whether you're local or you're a visitor and you're in our woods, please do not leave your fire unattended for any length of time whatsoever. Put out your campfire, even if you're just going for a 5-minute walk down the roadway. Put it out. You never know when an ember's going to escape and catch something on fire, and then we're off to the races. If we do go into restrictions, here's the big one. Restrictions are for everyone. Whether you live here or you're a visitor, restrictions apply to everyone. My favorite analogy is if you were to go visit London, you wouldn't drive on the right side of the road because you would cause all the accidents. You would drive on the left side because they drive on the wrong side over there. So when in Rome, so to speak, do as the Romans do. When we are in restrictions, you are to abide by all of our laws, rules, and everything else that goes along with it. All right, the next thing anyone can do is help create a defensible space at their properties. I'm gonna let my fire guys touch on this a lot more because they are the experts. But this is a diagram that can help anybody understand just what a defensible space is. And like I said, I'll let these guys go into more detail. And now it's their turn. I'll get out of the way.
Appreciate it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. First off, I wanted to touch base real quick on, first of all, I'm Conrad Loney. I'm the Assistant Chief of Timber Mesa Fire, Assistant Chief of Operations. I wanted to give you a quick overview of the Timber Mesa Fire District and our operations. Then I'll go into a little message about the wildfire season. So Timber Mesa Fire is your fire district. We also have areas in Lakeside, Linden, and White Mountain Lakes, in addition to the city of Show Low. Our whole district covers 216 square miles, but we also operate an ambulance service area of 440 square miles. We have approximately 34,500 full-time residents, and in the summer, that typically swells to an estimated range of about 70,000 people. And we run about 8,000 calls a year, and the majority of those are medical responses. The district responds to any emergency that threatens life or property. Timber Mesa Fire and our automatic and mutual aid regional partners are dispatched by Show Low PD using the closest available unit model with appropriate capabilities to control the emergency and provide timely and effective service. We work closely with our neighboring fire departments and fire districts to provide the quickest response to any emergency, including wildfires. Timber Mesa maintains automatic aid agreements with the Pinetop Fire District and Heber Overguard Fire District. And additionally, we have mutual aid agreements with all Arizona fire districts and departments, including Taylor Snowflake Fire. And we work very closely with especially the local fire departments and fire districts. We also work closely with the Navajo County Emergency Management Team and our law enforcement partners, as well as the Department of Fire and Forestry Management and the United States Forest Service to provide and or receive support during emergencies, including wildfire incidents. So our response model, we have 7 stations, 5 of those are manned full-time, and we run a three battalion system, so an A, B, and a C shift. Each battalion staffs 29 positions, and that includes a battalion chief officer, 4 engine companies, a truck company, 5 to 6 ambulances, or what we call rescues. And additionally, we have other apparatus available for response if needed, including 3 Type 6 brush trucks, 2 Type 3 brush trucks, 3 tenders, a scene support unit, and we just recently acquired 4 rescue boats to put on Show Low Lake, Fool Hollow Lake, White Mountain Lake, and for Rainbow Lake response. So Timber Mesa and our partners are engaged in efforts to reduce wildfire risk to our communities, including public education, training, and fuel mitigation programs. And we acknowledge that our homeowners, many of our homeowners and the public also engage in some very effective wildfire mitigation efforts, reducing the fuels and hardening their homes. But we must do more. We must get faster, we must get stronger and better as a community to adequately address the issue of wildfire risk. In our assessment, wildfire remains the #1 overall threat to the life and property of the people of the White Mountains. Our community has been fortunate to avoid another Rodeo Chereskai fire that, as we all know, nearly wiped out our entire beautiful community. Other communities have not been so fortunate. We must not become complacent. We must remain vigilant. So I challenge each citizen, homeowner, business, community leader, and political body to seek opportunities to engage in proactive efforts to better prepare for a life in the wildland-urban interface. So what does that mean? That means getting fire-wise, creating defensible space around homes. And there's strength in numbers. If more homes that surround you are fire adaptive, the better chance that in the event of a large fire, they're going to sustain a lesser impact. Enroll in Navajo, Ready Navajo County, as Katrina mentioned. This allows you to get notified if there's an evacuation issue. Learn and follow the recommendations of the Ready, Set, Go program, and support wildland urban interface specific building codes. So a couple of events I want to touch on that are coming up specifically for the public. And I want to acknowledge the city of Show Low for engaging this. This is the 26th annual Project Clean Sweep. This week, May 20th through the 25th, at the green waste dumping, you can dump your green waste out at Dirty Deeds. That includes pine needles, tree trimmings, and other organic material. And they're located at, at 890 Cinder Pit Road near Perkins Cinders out there. Participation in this program is free to Show Low citizens, and you can get more information at showlowarizona.gov. And then the other event I want to touch on is on Saturday, July 13th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There is the White Mountain Community's annual Firewise Block Party at the Blue Ridge Elementary School, where attendees will learn more about Firewise info, creating defensible space. They'll learn about Firewise landscaping plants that are more fire adaptive, evacuation preparedness, and they'll even have a bounce house and face painting there for the kids, so you can kind of keep them entertained while you get educated. For more information on that, call 928-367-2199. And for any additional information, please visit timbermesafire.org or any of our partners' websites or social media pages. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Katrina, I got one quick question for you that I forgot. I didn't see it on here. Where do people register for the Navajo County Alert? Did I miss it on there, or?
No, you didn't. I neglected to put it in my slides this year. I apologize. It is on our website, navajocountyaz.gov/ready. We'll take you right to the right spot to register for the alert system. And I just want to thank Conrad so much for bringing up the Firewise, because I also forgot to put my slot in for that. So
That's all right. That's why you got all that help behind
I
you.
know, I need all these guys to help me out. But yeah.
Thank you very much. JD, you didn't get introduced. Congratulations on your promotion, by the way,
Thank you, sir.
again.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, council members. First off, it's, as the mayor stated, I just got promoted. I am honored and proud to be your district's fire marshal, first off. I wanted to explain, just maybe introduce myself a little bit. I've been in public safety for 32 years, was in the United States military, 16 years. Don't try to do the math, it was congruent with my time served. My job has always been, since I was 19 years old, to identify risks and to help mitigate the threats to those I was trying to protect. It's no different in this position that I'm in now, and I take it very seriously. I wish to thank the city for Operation Clean Sweep. I took part of that this last weekend. I spent a few days out in my neighbor, Vice Mayor Kakavas can probably attest. I'm embarrassed. My property is in need of work. I've cut down over 65 trees in the last 2 years, small ones, and I'm trying to. I have to lead by example. So I can't ask of the citizens to do something that I'm not doing myself.
You want to work your way down the neighborhood, and there's a couple more houses that you can stop by.
I'm hoping to finish it. I'm hoping to finish it this summer.
Dang it! So that's a no, huh?
So, thank you for Operation Clean Sweep. While I was there, the 3 days that I was taking loads, I probably removed over a ton of material off my property alone over these last 3 days. And I saw the effects of that. Folks were taking advantage of that program. And it is a big help. Mitigating of our fuels inside our district is a huge advantage to keep wildland fires away. I want to talk real quick about the insurance industry and what's coming. We live in zip code 85901. Our entire zip code is considered the wildland urban interface. It's a big area. Right now, insurance companies in this area are dropping, canceling insurance policies. People can't buy homes in here because they're not being insured. what does that look like for the potential for our families that work in the construction trade to build homes? What does it look like for all of us that live here if we're dropped because we're a threat or a hazard to my neighbor, Vice Mayor Kakavas and her husband and her family up there? We all have a responsibility just by living here. Councilman Adams said in his invocation, he said the words beautiful area. It's absolutely correct. We all live here for a reason, whether that's the Four Seasons, a smaller community, the traffic, less heat, whatever it is. Regardless of our politics, or regardless of our backgrounds, we all have a responsibility just by living here to protect one another from that threat that is a violent adversary, and that's a wildland fire. And that wildland fire doesn't always start outside our area, outside on the forest or the tribal areas. It can start inside as well and take out our entire way of life, our entire economy, our entire community, our schools, everything that we live here in this beautiful area for. The potential wildfires will drive the futures of our community, Show Low and the rest of the White Mountains. So how do we get in front of this? We allow positive growth. We allow jobs for our families in the construction trade and other businesses. From the front door to the forest, it's our responsibility to mitigate fuels. Right now, I have a 2-year plan as the new fire marshal coming in, and the first part of it is what I termed the REACH program. It's risk assessment, education, code adoption, and enforcement. And that is to tackle our hazards. Today, I just want to share some numbers with you. Some of our members went out and did what's called a basal scoring. It's a way to determine how much fuel is on pieces of land. Now, right now, these today's numbers in our area within the city of Show Low. A healthy forest system or a healthy system in our city or anywhere in the forest system is considered to be 60 to 80. That's the number, 60 to 80 on the basal score. Right now in the city, not too far from here, a basal score was taken, and that score was 279. So the amount of fuels that we have surrounding us is astronomical. This area resembles Paradise, California, so eerily close. It really is scary. So, not trying to throw the fear out there, but I'm trying to let everyone know in our communities out there, everybody that's watching and everybody that can hear, we all have a responsibility to mitigate the fuels that are on our property, and as a bigger community, tackle those areas that need to be mitigated. We'll get to those issues by grants, working together, work in kind, whatever we need to do. If it's somebody in the community that can't afford to clean up their property, we're going to find a solution and we'll help them. So, and that's all I have really tonight to present. Again, I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here in front of you tonight. I can answer any questions for you.
Thank you, JD. I think the part that scared me is when you classified us with California, so. No, I appreciate that, JD, very much. And so these programs that you're going to adopt, how are you going to enforce that? So if I have a neighbor, we're picking on you tonight since you're my neighbor, how do you enforce that if you call that neighbor in? Are you going to be able to say, hey, we're going to give you, 30 days?
So right now, I mean, and again, I'm new into it, into the position with Timber Mesa as the fire marshal. What I envision, and I know that the city of Show Low has ordinance against fire hazards.
Right.
My goal is that we are the authority having jurisdiction and recognize what a fire hazard looks like based on certain criteria. Enforcement is a tool, is an arm. I'd rather have education and collaboration as opposed to enforcement. Unfortunately, sometimes for maybe folks in the community that are obstinate, maybe enforcement is something that we have to take up.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to clarify that we aren't asking people to clear cut their property.
No, ma'am. No, absolutely not.
Contact you all and get a good plan.
Yes. So there's a couple ways we can handle this. I get called on the weekly. Every week I have anywhere from 4 to 10 Firewise assessments that I'll go out because people are calling me and saying, my insurance company's going to drop me without an assessment. Sometimes I have to tell them, you have work to do. You have work to do on your property, or, you know, this is the assessment. This is my prescription. They in turn will call some contractors to come out or do it themselves, mitigate that fuel, use a program such as Operation Clean Sweep to take those fuels out and get them disposed of. That way we can't stock those things because that's just as much a danger. That's a fire hazard. So if that answers your question, you know.
Well, I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Firewise assessments is what I do now. There is another arm of this, and that is the home ignition zone, and it's actually gone a little further. It's gone to the structure ignition zone assessment for wildland urban interface areas. And what that does is it takes members of your community, and the community is described in Firewise as 8 to 2,500 homes. That's a neighborhood. It's considered a community. And you have folks in that community or your neighbors, your neighborhood, that go out and do assessments after they're trained to do this and recommend prescriptions based on that. And the reason for that, again, and why this is important is, again, that insurance industry is going to drive this. So why not get in front of it now?
Thanks, JD. Yes, sir.
Congratulations on the promotion, JD. I think you'll do a phenomenal job. I want to commend Chief Chevalier for hiring JD. He's going to do a phenomenal job. I think we should probably post Fire Marshal Pepper's number on the screen. If anybody didn't get a ticket to the graduation on Thursday night.
Cell number, right?
He's the reason why it's only limited to 6, because the Fire Marshal won't allow more in the Hatch Toyota Arena. Is that correct there?
Yeah, that's true.
Can we go back on a page there? I love the fact that we're disseminating information, and I don't, Rachel, if you or somebody can go back, the picture that we had there.
Defensible space.
Yeah, I think that was great, and I think, you know,
Right there.
other than the fact that we have a palm tree in the middle of it, I wonder, Conrad, was that your more fire preventive plants that we wanted to get on people's property, is to put a palm tree? But I'm just kidding about that. But is there a place, maybe Katrina or JD, you guys could, like, where individuals could get this PDF so that could be disseminated out to the community and stuff, so people kind of have an understand of where, like, what does a property look like that is Firewise, that's defensible, one that's not, and so that they can kind of do a little bit of research on their own and just kind of have that, you know, when we talk about, you know, insurance and whether it's a defensible space and you've done an assessment and all that, I think it would be helpful if we could get that to the community so that they could just have an initial idea to say, yeah, you know, my property is pretty good, or maybe I need to be doing some more there. And so if we could get that out there, that would be phenomenal. So, and I don't know, Kat, is this on your website already, or?
Yeah, great question, Brant. Really appreciate you bringing that up. So the residents can go to the NFPA
Okay.
Firewise, and that exact graphic will be displayed on the website. But you bring up a very good point. And first, I'd like to say, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, chair, council member, sorry about that.
Go in front of a few of them.
I know, we've been talking nonstop. Last night was our board meeting, then we were with the town council, so I apologize. I just want to say how much I appreciate the relationship that we have with the city of Shoalo. Morgan Brown and all the staff, police department, public works have been so fantastic to work with, including Grace Payne. And so we'll take this up, and there are some great examples in this community where there is some good Firewise homes that we can share out there. So we'll take that campaign. Residents can go to NFPA and look at Firewise, but we should show some good examples of in our community what that looks like. The challenge that we're facing today, though, is insurance. I'm not sure what matrix they're using to say that is good or that is bad. Mm-hmm. There is representation across this community and other parts of the state where people are being dropped or the rates are going through the roof because the insurance companies are not validating, saying that they're good Firewise. And so there's actually a statewide coalition right now. Myself is included in the coalition with multiple other fire chiefs across the state. We're trying to figure out what matrix is being used. That way, when we go out and do that Firewise assessment, we can truly say, yes, they are legit. Yes, that whole community is appropriate. And so that's why you can tell there's a ton of passion on this topic. because we're scared, right? I'll legitimately say I'm a little bit scared of wildfire coming into my community. I grew up here. This is my home. I don't want to see it burned. But there's so many factors that come into play, and we can't do it alone. Thank you for this platform to allow us to come up and speak and say a few words. We need the community support, and we're doing everything we can from an organizational standpoint, a statewide standpoint, to figure out this insurance problem, because it's going to be a major problem, and it's going to be probably adoption of some codes, right? We have some good codes. We have an international fire code. There could be some movie codes that we need to look at adopting for this community to help. And it's not to penalize people. It's to recognize that this is a major issue, and we don't want to be like a California community. But I just want to say thanks for the partnership that we have with the city. It's fantastic. I've never seen it better, and I just thank you so much for all the support.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some work, buddy. So what I'm thinking, and I'm gonna ask Morgan and Paige and or Grace, excuse me, is can we upload this to our app, the Sholo app that we have, and then also upload it to our city website so that it's just right there, Firewise and stuff like that. And then one of the things I loved about the mayor was during the Halloween time, you went out and if someone was doing a great job with their home or their business, you kind of did like a little mayor recognition or something. If JD has some homes that are already have gone through that, I don't know why it wouldn't be great to have the mayor go and knock on the door and give them a little, hey, thank you for being Firewise, sure. And we appreciate you doing that, and we appreciate, and maybe then, Grace and her team takes a picture of that, and it kind of gives the community a little bit more, because I think when Kat comes up and says, hey, it's not as severe as past, then we all kind of get our spidey senses stop tingling, and we start.
Then the winds go for.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like that. But if you're out there recognizing the good and the people who've done that, and it doesn't have to just be a residential property. Maybe there's some commercial properties. We've worked with some businesses and stuff like that, and you could kind of recognize them with how you did it in Halloween, and then we can put that on our app and put that on our Facebook, and that might do a good thing within our own citizens to kind of see the good that they're doing.
And just real quick, I spent so many years safety officer at Sholo, so I was always the worst case scenario guy. So it was always the worst case scenario. And then Katrina, when you said that, I'm sure people are thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. We're not as bad. Yeah, but you guys walk outside and the wind's blowing 40 miles. That changes within days, within hours. So you know what I'd like to see, to be honest with you? Can you take this presentation down to the valley for those people that are coming up here? They need to be educated. I mean, we do a lot up on this mountain that we educate ourselves in Firewise because we live it. Problem is we have them coming up here and they don't know it. They're VRBO in a backyard house. Granted, they got to go by our codes and stuff, but they're not educated either. So that flyer maybe needs to go to some of those VRBO owners and educate those, because how many calls, I don't know how many calls, I'm sure you guys know that you go on in the summertime that they're rentals or VRBOs, and they're having fires in their backyards, and they don't know what a red flag means up here because they don't have it down there. They have no burn, but
between Sholo, Lakeside, and Pine Top, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 second homes and Airbnb type properties or vacation rentals. I know that Pine Top, as well as myself, we are working with the VRBO on the Airbnb to get those letters into the welcome packet. If anybody's ever done a vacation rental, you go in and it's got the welcome book in there. I have been personally in contact with property management groups to get those letters into the homes as soon as possible. We are working on that as well.
Good.
That's exactly the collaborative effort, and you guys just spoke to this, right? It's the fine fuels. I think I talk about this every single year. It doesn't matter to me if it's in the middle of June when it's the worst fire conditions, right? That's when we're going to see the major fire. It can still be in December, January if we don't have moisture on the ground. It's that dry grass, and it doesn't matter, right? The fuel that's an ignition source or a carrier of fire. It just wants that one little ember from a campfire, from a chain or whatever. So we just recently had a large structure fire in the White Mountain Lakes community. We had the condos right on the lake, Edgewater condos, nice little community in the White Mountain Lakes area. Structure fire started, burned 4 units, 2 major. And the ember cast, once that fire raised up through the roof and vented itself out, it shot embers forever Luckily, there was a lake behind it, and all those embers got caught by the lake. The next fire that occurs might not have that lake. And so this situation is not just in the summertime. We saw the graphics, and it does create a little bit of complacency, right? Because they look good. They're like, oh, finally, a good fire season where we're not going to have the impact. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. The ember cast can fall anywhere and cause us those problems. So this is a year-round problem that we need to take care of all the time. So these are all great ideas, and we're going to jump 100% on board with staff and Grace Payne and get some more of this messaging out. And however we can fit better in that picture, we want to fit in that picture, because this is our home too, right? We want to protect it. But again, thank you so much for the support that you guys offer on a regular basis. We love it and truly appreciate it.
I'm going to butt in for a minute here. I'm sitting here grinning and appreciating what I'm hearing and watching you gentlemen, knowing what you do and knowing what the crews on the forest do out there. My wife and I spent our honeymoon at a fire lookout tower. And I went away to a fire that we didn't have any resources back in that time in New Mexico. We were on Philmont Scout Ranch. Turkey Tower was the name of the tower, big old aluminum gantry. But we didn't have anything to do with the fire except I would go out with my Pulaski or whatever and a pump and fight a fire, find the tree that's a snag that's burning and dropping limbs and cleaning that up. And I'm talking on things that I shouldn't be, but I really appreciate you gentlemen coming out and representing yourselves and having known what you represent as far as the resources in the field. So anyway, thank you very much. We appreciate it. It's a resource that we'll never take advantage of. We have to appreciate that a little more than we do. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, Chief? Chief, Cat Chief, this Chief.
Thank you, Mayor and
We'll
Council.
start calling you Chief.
No, because they won't give me a gun.
So real quick, I just want to go back and address, Kat was talking about the Wildfire Restriction Working Committee. So this group is a multidisciplinary group that comes together weekly and looks at everything going on out there. It's looking at the fire conditions, the weather conditions, and all the science behind it, but we're also taking a look at what resources are available. How many, helicopters are available, hotshot crews, what's available locally, regionally. So all these things are being taken into consideration. And I want the public to know when we go into restrictions, it's not us making that decision unilaterally. That has to go back to all the governing boards and councils, and they have to review that. And when we go into restrictions, by that point, that's a threat to our community. And so understand, once we go into restrictions, if you're throwing that lit cigarette out the window, if you're burning illegally, we have zero tolerance. And you will be meeting our officers and our firefighters in that condition. Please, don't take that risk. Don't risk our homes. Don't risk your home by violating those restrictions, because it is a true threat to our community. But we do have great partners. There's a lot of work going in to this behind the scenes. And it's not only on the restriction side, it's on the planning side. If we do have a fire, how do we respond to that? If we have to do evacuations, what does that look like? Where do we send people? So there's a lot of work going behind the scenes on an ongoing basis when we talk about this. So anyway, I want to just thank you for having us and thank our partners.
I'd like to have you come up and shake our hands.
I got one more question. We talked about red flag conditions, but it's red flag conditions when it's windy too, right? And what is that? Tell me, is it 10 mile an hour and above? What is that? It doesn't matter if we call it red flag, right? The winds can do it. Is that true?
So, kind of, sort of.
Okay.
Red flag conditions are a weather advisory put out by the National Weather Service, based out of Flagstaff, Belmont. It is not just wind. It is the low relative humidity. So when that number gets to the single digits, I think it's 8%. Am I somewhere in there? It's like 8%, which is drier than paper. When it's drier than paper, That's the low relative humidity combined with an increased sustained wind, not just the gusts that we see. So Monday, we had a red flag warning. That's what triggered that, was those two components. Today, there were some breezes. We'll see some more breezes throughout the week. There's potential for more critical fire weather, potentially a red flag this weekend, Friday or Saturday. We're keeping an eye on that. We always do. So yeah, it's a red flag warning is not the same as wind. Wind is not the same as red flag. That answer the question?
If I can touch on that, just.
Yeah, but I think I'm probably thinking more of burn permits or something like that we
Oh,
have.
yeah.
Yeah, burning will
the
get
same.
shut down if winds are greater than 10 miles per hour. Because wind, once it gets in those fine fuels, it's going to push the fire, right? So in our fire district and in the city of Shell, in fact, we talked about this in city staff a little bit this morning. In the city of Shell, there's two different fire zones. There's 117 and 116. In our fire district, we actually have three different fire weather zones, 116, 117, and 113. As a fire district, we treat it as if any one of those three goes into red flag, we're going to treat the whole area as if it's red flag, because that triggers a different response for us. If we get called for smoke in the area, maybe a campfire, in a normal situation, it's going to be a single engine response. If it's during red flag conditions, it's going to be what we call a first alarm assignment. And we're sending multiple units because we want to get in front of that fire right away. And so regardless of where that red flag warning gets issued from the National Weather Service in our fire district, we're going to treat it as very critical. We also up staff on those days. We staff another wildland unit just to have that quicker response. But wind is a factor, humidity is a factor, and in some locations, the fuel moisture that exists, the dead and down, what's the fuel moisture in that? And those are all characteristic of how fast a fire is going to move. So when it gets labeled red flag, regardless of what fire weather zone, it's all the same to us. That way we treat it the same, respond the same, and knock it down quickly. But 10 mile an hour for burn permits. And when we go into restrictions, then burn permits stop getting issued at that point in time. But please, in our fire district, 367 fire, or you can go to our website, timbermesafire.org, and it has a banner across the top that says burning or no burning. Chief Pepper, Fire Marshal Pepper manages that. And but if you have any questions about burn permit, all the rules are on there. You can go to our website. Very similar to the counties. Follow pretty much the same rules issued by ADEQ, and we kind of follow those rules for those pieces.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Don't go away. I'm gonna have to shake some hands.
Alrighty, next item on the agenda is presentation and change of fiscal year 2025 city manager's recommendation budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 25. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was told I have 3 minutes.
Start the timer.
Start it right now. Thank you for the opportunity to review the changes tonight. Just a quick recap on our budget process. We want to keep it public and transparent. We had our first study session back in January with the council. We had budget town hall. We've met with the council to review the recommended budget. And we did another town hall and budget study session in April. Tonight, we're just going to review what we're calling the draft tentative budget or the changes to the recommended. Then we have tentative budget adoption June 4th and final budget adoption June 18th. And then since we have one meeting in July, we do the secondary property tax rate on July 16th. This is our budget versus actual, shows the historical where we've been with our budget compared to what we've actually spent in the budget. We're estimating to spend about $61.8 million in fiscal year 24, and the current proposed budget is $126.5 million. So from the revenue perspective, our recommended budget was $78.7 million. We've had a few changes in the revenue projections, $667,000, which brings the new budget amount to $79.4 million. our unbudgeted reserves. As a reminder for the council, general fund, we have close to 4 million in unbudgeted reserves. And wastewater operations, 514,000. Water operations, 777,000. And we have in reserve for a future water treatment plant, 2.5 million. And the number we're shooting for the general fund and the 2 enterprise funds is about 3 months of operating. So we've achieved that for all 3 of those budgets. On the revenue changes, we have a decrease in our fund balance changes there, 1.5 million, and then in our operating revenues, the 667. And then when we change our fund balances and project carryovers, our transfers out between funds also changes. So the tentative budget numbers for revenue is 146 million. On the recommended budget for our expenditures, we had 125.7 million. We have, again, the revenues and the expenditures have to match to keep the budget balanced. We have 693,878 in changes on the expenditure side, with a tentative budget total of 126,484,526. This is a breakdown of the changes. I won't go through each of these line by line. If you see something there or you have a question, please let me know. But just to give you a feel for how this chart or this table works, for the first line item, we had the city entrance sign makeover. When we brought the recommended budget to the council, we were carrying the full amount because we didn't know if we would complete the project and be billed. In the changes, you'll see a negative 487,000, which means we took that out of the budget because it was completed in fiscal year 24, so we don't need to carry it over to fiscal year 25. So that's kind of the format of this slide. There are a few probably key ones that are the larger items that I will cover. The Wolford Road construction. This is a project that we got grant funding for, and we had initially in the budget for fiscal year 25, 2.6 million. We issued the check for 1.2 million to ADOT, who was managing the project for us. And we weren't certain if we were going to be paying for the project and managing it at the time, so we had the full project amount, but now we've paid our proportionate share. ADOT's managing, so that most of that project comes off. We did leave 250,000 in there in case there are any overages, which the city will be responsible for. Another one is the City Campus Master Plan Phase 3. Basically, we moved that from the grants into the grants from the Parks Facilities budget because we do think we're going to be able to get some grant funding for that project. The Timothy McKay Memorial Park, we're also going to be submitting a grant or for an application for a grant for this project, and Shannon will be talking about that a little later tonight. But that project amount has been revised and it's a 50-50 grant, so we decided to try and maximize the amount of dollars we could get as a city and do all 4 phases and include a couple extra things in there which push the project total up. Any questions on the capital carryovers? On other expenditure modifications, our transfers out, a change there of 828,000. Our liability insurance, which is in the general operations budget, we did receive word from the risk pool that we were going to get a credit on our premiums, so we applied that credit to our next year's budget, so our premium amount will go down for next year. The total is 261,000, but we made the change of 175,000 to leave ourselves a cushion there in case things change with our insurance premiums. And those are really the 2 larger items from expenditure modifications. A summary of the changes in the capital carryovers, a change of 16,000, and then just modifications, and generally speaking, 677,000 for a new total on the tentative budget of 30,895,320. So we'll continue to monitor revenues and the economy, and one thing that we didn't list in the slide here is just the state budget. We're still waiting for the state to report back on what they're doing. We have calls a couple times per week with the League of Cities and Towns, and they give us periodic updates, but they haven't heard anything in weeks about the state budget. We did build our budget based on the estimates that we did receive for the state share revenues. We don't anticipate any changes, but if changes do need to be made, we usually get those from the state in time to make changes to the tentative before it's adopted by the council. So, and we can make changes up through the tentative budget adoption, and then we can only make reductions from the tentative to the final. So once we set the tentative, we can't increase it, we can only decrease it. Any questions on that? The last thing I wanted to touch on, just a reminder on our sanitation rate changes. We did bring before the council earlier this year a new contract for approval and the new rates for the garbage service. It's going to go to $21.85. That's for one regular cart, one recycle cart, and then the additional cart's going to increase to $13.25. We have been in conversations with a couple other local communities, and our rate's still probably the best in the White Mountains, considering we get the recycle included with our other cans. So, any questions on the sanitation rates? Any questions on the draft budget? Great, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You went over 3 minutes, though. Next item on the agenda is consent calendar, where we'll entertain a motion to consideration of appointment of local public safety personnel retirement system board, consideration of addendum to commercial ground lease with Rim Country Holdings, consideration of a non-commercial hangar development and ground lease with BFI Management Service, consideration of approval of operating agreement with Enterprise Leasing Company of Phoenix and Hatch Toyota to provide rental car service. Maybe. Consideration of acceptance of city park pressure reducing valve and water line replacement. Consideration of acceptance of grant funds from Arizona Department of Forestry. Consideration of minutes of the Shoal City Council on May 7th, 2024. Do I have anybody that needs to pull, or I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar as read?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I got a motion, I got a second by Councilman Adams. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is consideration of adoption of resolution number R 2024-16, approving submitting application for Arizona State Park Land and Water Conservation Fund and authorize the signature for approval of sponsor agreement. Mrs. Adams.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. In 2022, the council adopted resolution R 2022-23, naming the city-owned property known as parcel 210-1815B Timothy McKay Memorial Park. The design of the park was completed with the direction of the council and input by the Parks and Recreations Advisory Committee. In March 2024, the city submitted a pre-application to the Arizona State Parks for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant to develop the Timothy McKay Memorial Park on Old Linden Road. The Arizona State Parks approved the LWCF pre-application on April 19th, which authorized the city to submit a formal LWCF grant application for the project construction. The total estimated cost of the project is $1,735,515. The maximum grant funding available from the Arizona State Parks Land and Water Conservation Fund is $1 million. A 50% match is required for the project, which can be comprised of cash, donated labor, materials, services, and/or equipment. The Arizona State Parks application requires the city to certify by resolution the approval of the application, signature authorization, and the availability of local matching funds, and authorization to sign the project sponsor agreement. Staff recommends submitting the grant application to the Arizona State Parks Land, Water, and Conservation Fund for the development of the Timothy McKay Memorial Park located at 361 East Old Linden Road in Shoalo, Arizona, and authorization to sign the project sponsor agreement certifying the availability of up to $867,757.50 in matching funds, and authorizing the signing of the project sponsor agreement certifying the availability of up to $867,757.50 in matching funds.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You know what's exciting about this is instead of the phases that, I don't remember how many we were talking, 3 or 4, 3, you said 3, you said 4, I'll go with city manager, who said 4. That we could do it in one.
Yeah.
That's the exciting part about this, but I'm so glad that we're putting our name in there for that. Any questions or comments or motions?
Can I do the motion on this?
You can.
It is
Exciting.
very exciting and my pleasure to move to adopt resolution number R 2024-16, authorizing the submission of Arizona State Parks Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application for the development of Timothy McKay Memorial Park located at 361 East Old Linden Road, Shoalo, Arizona, and authorize the mayor to sign the project sponsor agreement certifying the availability of up to $867,757.50 in matching funds with an estimated project cost of $1,735,515.
Thank you. I got a motion, got a second by Councilman Hatch. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed. Thank you very much. Appreciate your guys' hard work on that too. Okay, next item on the agenda is summer current events. Council members? Lots of things going on around here, that's for sure. Just real quick, every weekend from here on out, we probably got something going on. So just be careful out there. As you can tell, the town is getting packed already. A lot of people coming up here. And I always think they're coming up here to visit, but for some reason, they ain't going home. So they realize what we have up here. So be careful. And I'm sure my wife is watching this. No right turn, or right turns only in Shoalo all summer. So that'll help those guys out in the back room on car wrecks. I almost seen one today, a guy leaving Safeway and shot across, and he almost got T-boned, which happens there at Cal Ranch and all those ones that people think they need to go across, but go right. Try to go right. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple quick things to remind everybody about. So our farmers market has started up, the Shoalo Main Street Farmers Market on Saturdays, and it runs through September 7th, and they're from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that's at the Festival Marketplace along Cooley. They have lots of produce, food, products, and others, arts and crafts. So if you want more details, you can go to ShoaloMainStreet.org. We are seeking applications for a vacancy on the Shoalo Planning and Zoning Commission and also the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Those applications are available at City Hall or on our website, and they are due by this Friday, May 24th, to the city clerk. And then just, this is coming up Memorial Day weekend with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, or VFW Post 9907, holds a commemorative service on Monday, May 27th at 10 a.m. at the city cemetery to honor servicemen and women who paid the ultimate price. VFW suggests you bring a chair and be prepared to stand for up to an hour during the ceremony. Just invite everyone to come to that. It's usually a really great event. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And just to reiterate about the planning and zoning, if you want to get involved in the city government, I think that's a great place to start. I know you have one on Parks and Rec, I believe you said, but planning and zoning, there's one there too. So if you know anybody that might be interested, please send them our way. Anybody need seconds? Next item on the agenda is schedule of meetings.
Nothing, Mayor. It's just our next council meeting on June 4th.
All right. Next item on the agenda, executive session. We'll have discussion with legal advice with our city attorney. I need a motion to go into executive session. Got a motion, Councilman Adams. I need a second. Councilman Whipple. I didn't say it again twice. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you guys very much for coming. Appreciate it. See you, Chief.